Colors of Politics, NRI, on RI Free Radio. Just as the rainbow has many colors, there are multiple opinions and views of the way our state government should be run. Let us be to the point and deliver the truth. It is time to break down the colors of politics.
Hello and welcome to Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter at symbol Colors of RI. And wow, well, obviously the inauguration just happened, and so that is all over the news, the Facebook news feed, the Twitter, and everywhere else, because we did just get a new president after 8 years, and we switched parties from Democrat to Republican representation at the presidential level, which has some people jumping for joy and others losing their minds. And it's just unbelievably divisive. I really just said separative. But anyways, that the division is that far apart, polar opposites, but I guess it really always has been. It's just being portrayed much more vocal this time around, but it was also much more vocal through this whole presidential campaign than it had been in past times either. So now President-elect and was President-elect is officially our president after yesterday with the inauguration, and that is the big, huge national news. And on the Rhode Island news level, we have our governor putting out two years of free tuition in the new budget, and this and that, and we have the money, and this is a great thing, and let's go to the high school and pitch an idea for something that has not passed to high school students, taking them out of their class time with a school that, from what I understand, is one of the lowest math rates in the state. Let's pitch an idea to them and only tell the one-sided story. Yeah, that's what's happening in Rhode Island. And I'm curious, I didn't check if that particular school is in Mattiello's district, which I think it is, because Mattiello was the one that said he wanted to phase out the car tax over 5 years also, and she decided that she wanted to put in her budget a one-time 30% reduction in the car tax, and kind of trying to blow away the speaker's spotlight almost, and then she goes into the speaker's district and pitching her free college tuition for 2 years plan. So let's focus on this college tuition and first of all, her comment in regards to it. We have the money, so why shouldn't we do it? If we have the money, what in the world happened in 2016 with the fast track of the road works and the toll booths and tolling trucks and all of this to fix roads and bridges, and this thing was like shoved so fast, so quick, one of the fastest things in the 2016 legislative session, because we had no money and there was no other way to rework the budget to do it, even though the minority section of the Republicans did propose a way to rework the budget and make it happen without tolls. That wasn't okay with her. So, we needed it so bad we have to spend all this money on toll gantries, and we have to do all these things, except the very next year in 2017, we don't even have toll gantries up yet. We are not even tolling and collecting tolls yet, but we have all this extra money to give 2 years of free college tuition. What? Okay, this really is mind-boggling and a bunch of both. If we didn't have the money last year, we sure as hell don't have the money this year. And all people hear is free college tuition, and there's so many people jumping for joy. The basic idea of going to school for free is always great. Everything sounds great when you put the word free attached to it, but it's not really free at all. And what we need to focus on better in our state is not such a huge general fund. We need to make sure when certain monies are being collected for certain things that they are specifically delegated for those things. So they don't just end up in the general fund and then money's being spent however the heck the legislator or the governor chooses to try to present them to be spent. We need better specific budgeting of the funds before the actual budget of how to spend them even comes about. We need certain monies when they come in, they go into certain delegated accounts that those monies cannot go to other things. Rhode Island has been famous for so many years of everything going into this general fund, and then it's just spent on ridiculous things. We have a $9 million budget for 1.1 million people. That's beyond ridiculous. And then in the elections that just passed 4 months ago in November, there was all kinds of things on there, bonds, to pay for this, to pay for that, to pay for this, and yet again, every single one passes in Rhode Island. Guys, you complain so much about how Rhode Island spends the money, and then when the ballots do come around where you can vote, why aren't you voting no? Let's not take these bonds out. Let's not pay interest of millions of dollars more. Let's figure out how to pay these things with money we do have, or find out how to do them for less money, or wait until we at least have some more of the money so the bond is significantly less so we're not paying as much in millions in interest. There's a lot of different ways that Rhode Island can go about things. And at this point, almost any of them would work better than the current situation. So there's free tuition. Well, let's break it down for the fact that she wants it for CCRI, RIC, or URI. And then there's 3 completely different schools that have different levels of tuition. So you can choose any one you want, and Rhode Island is going to foot the bill and only require a 2.0 GPA. What? There's also a bunch of different ways that this could be presented differently. First of all, CCRI tuition is at a point where the average person could work a part-time job while going to school and pay for the tuition. CCRI is set up at the community college to be low cost, and you don't have to have some extremely high-paying job or wealthy parents to get a degree from CCRI, first of all. Second of all, if we're even going to present a plan like this, what about, like, a cap amount of, like, $2,000 for your first year, $3,000 for your second year, and we'll pay $5,000 towards it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think we should do that currently with our budget the way it is either, but even that would be presenting something that wasn't just willy-nilly, we're going to do this, oh, and by the way, you only have to have a 2.0 grade point average, when 4.0 is pretty much the best you can get for the most part. So we're saying you only have to get 50% of what the best you even can get is for us to pay for you. Like, hello? Am I the only one going, no, this isn't so great? We're getting bowled over for everything else as far as, oh yes, now we want to reduce the car tax. Let's try to make it sound like we're doing so much good for you. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to regulate every little thing you do. How about, it's been a while now, but I don't remember how many years ago, the seatbelt law. I'm sorry. You're a full-grown adult driving your car, and just like when you go hiking, whether or not you're wearing flip-flops or hiking boots and taking care of your own safety of your ankles and your feet, and if you're going to trip, or if you're rock climbing, and if you have the proper safety equipment or not. That's on you. You take that risk. It's no different with driving a car. If you're wearing a seatbelt or not, that is your body's safety, yourself. Oh, but you can't make that choice for yourself just because there's a bunch of stuff that says you're safer wearing a seatbelt. We're going to make you do it, and then we're going to make you pay a fine and let the police pull you over for it just because you're not wearing a seatbelt. And we're going to put that money into the general fund where we can then again just spend it however we want on really bad decisions in the state of Rhode Island and giving unbelievably huge incentive breaks to companies in Rhode Island that are basically corporate large companies that are profiting large amounts anyways, and then we're going to make the environment in Rhode Island for small businesses unbelievably difficult to survive. Oh, and never mind the retirees. Everybody that retires needs to leave Rhode Island unless you're like really rich or you planned it so well to survive the Rhode Island environment, because you're going to get taxed on everything under the sun, and you're going to be paying for a million different things. So many people leave Rhode Island for other locations because of how they treat when people receive the money from their pension funds, when they receive their retirement money, and what gets taxed or what gets fined or what gets this and that. Rhode Island is the worst of it. And then they wonder why we grow up and get older and lots of people leave, or they don't even get older. They leave before they're old because this environment of the state and this mentality of we know better than you do. You elected us into office, and now you just don't have a brain at all. We know, so we're going to tell you what to do because you're only smart enough to elect us into office. You're not smart enough to make decisions for yourself. That is the way that it is run up there, and I in no way, shape, or form believe that is what every legislator actually thinks in those exact words, but wow, it is crazy. It is just unreal of the way that the things are run in Rhode Island. It's nuts. Like, yes, education is a good thing. Yes, it is harder now than it was 15, 20 years ago to get decent paying jobs without at least 2 years of college under your belt. Yes, that is true. But how about the fact that the government and the federal level got its hand in the student loan system? So basically, we need these college educations in order to make the decent level of money to survive with the environment of the way that our country is. Never mind Rhode Island. Rhode Island's just a bit worse. But then the federal government makes money off of all of us needing student loans and their interest on it. And so not only are we getting taxed and levied and everything from every angle, then we have to pay the interest to the government for getting a degree, and then depending on your degree, if you go for something for a master's or a doctorate, and you're in school for that level of time, and you're also going to an Ivy League college, you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So then at even a good paying, decent job to pay your bills and provide for yourself and pay your college debt, you still have a decent length of time before you're out from under that. The whole system needs a revamping for sure, and we will discuss that in just a moment about that revamping needed. For right now, we're going to listen to Jordan Page's song Pendulum as a nice little interval of this political weekend that we are in.
Between fact and fiction, been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons, been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders who claim to be listening, and the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight, like a moment of blindness and a lifetime of sight. And I am caught somewhere in the middle. Of his people, saw a camel that passed through the eye of a needle, saw a group of old men whose money was evil, saw a cross breaking free from the cage of a steeple, saw beggars and cripples dying in squalor, a son whose sins had exceeded his father, saw a nation of sleepers whose dreams forgotten, and a bushel of apples from a tree
Welcome back to Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio. Yeah, I had a blank moment in my own radio show name. Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio. That's what you're listening to. And you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter at Colors of RI. You can listen to our past podcasts and previous shows right on the rifreeradio.org. And don't forget, you can always download the TuneIn app, or you can listen to RI Free Radio along with many other stations right from the app. So, thanks for tuning in with us today. And we're discussing multiple different things on federal and state levels with politics right now. And to bring it back to the revamping and this educational system and so many different problems with it, we had earlier this week all the questioning in the committee about the Secretary of Education and her nomination or waiting for confirmation, depending on the vote. I'm not really sure what word they're even using at this point, but Betsy DeVos, I might have totally said her last name wrong, DeVos, she's up there as the person being questioned and drilled by the Congress right now. And some of the questions are really good questions and very good for them to be brought up and for them to be thought about before a new person is appointed. But I've also heard a lot of the questions having to do with, well, are you going to continue with doing X, Y, Z? Are you going to continue with doing X, Y, Z? I'm sorry, but I find it refreshing that she doesn't define yes or no on some of these questions. She says she looks forward to reviewing. She looks forward to determining more on certain questions. I find that refreshing because there's a million different things wrong with our public educational system on so many levels that somebody that is not willing to just be like, yes, I'm going to keep on doing what obviously doesn't work, is refreshing. Now, that doesn't mean I think she's the best choice out there by any means, but just because Donald Trump put her there doesn't make her horrible. And sometimes changing things, wiping the slate clean, and beginning again is exactly what is needed to make something better, to make it more efficient, to make it more effective. And so maybe she could screw something up, but that also means that there's plenty of Congress, plus the president, to also make her leave the position, and changes can be made again, or whatnot. Just because she's in that position doesn't mean she has 100% control all by herself and has full and total everything by that single job. Now, the job does have a lot of responsibility, and the job does have a lot of power, but there's so many things wrong with this system on so many levels that I think a lot of times we need to take a step back and we need to be like, you know what? Maybe shaking it up, changing the realm, and turning some things in different directions is exactly what we need. We can't always complain that this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this is bad, this is crappy, and then when somebody comes in that doesn't seem like they are qualified for what already exists, and then find that as a bad thing. Sometimes not being qualified for what already exists that isn't working is a good thing because it means that it could be made better. And she's a huge advocate for the charter school system and charter school and school choice options. Well, charter schools are public schools. Yes, they have slightly different regulation, and I believe different states even have slightly different ways that they get established per state, but it still is a public school thing. And if there is tons and tons and tons of charter schools that are performing much better than the average public school, then maybe her being an advocate for charter schools is a good thing in the aspect that we can take some of what is working so good in the charter school realm and put it into the regular public education realm. It doesn't need to be this consistent cookie cutter, everybody's supposed to fit the mold through the educational system. It doesn't need, I don't know, to me that just never works for anything. Having a cookie cutter mold, one size fits all, it doesn't work for anything. It doesn't work for medicine, it doesn't work for much of anything in the medical field at all. It doesn't work for education. It doesn't work, period. Human beings are complex, and one size fits all, cookie cutter, it doesn't work for anybody, for anything. Bringing it back to Rhode Island and Rhode Island topics, what's coming back up again this year, that went around big time last year in 2016 too, and maybe 2017 will be the year of it, is advocating for the line item veto. And if you haven't already heard of him, Ken Block is out there, and he's always been vocal with his political views and pushing hard for different things, and also ran at the state level for governor, so he has a lot of name recognition and does a lot of hard work in a lot of different areas. And he, Watchdog RI is his group, I believe. Well, he's also has the website lineitemveto.org, where you can sign a petition and send an email stating that you agree that Rhode Island should have a line item veto. Currently, 44 out of 50 states have a line item veto. So if the specific thing is if there's something that gets snuck in last moment, some kind of edit or addendum, something that is added in that wasn't already vetted through by everyone, that wasn't really seen and out in the open, and then the governor has the item to veto it. Veto something that tried to get snuck in last minute. And especially in budget things, certain lines of the budget could be vetoed. And that seems like a very good thing, because right now it either has to pass or fail. The whole thing has to go through, and she needs to sign, or she needs to just veto the whole thing. And it definitely has positive things on multiple different levels, and it didn't happen in 2016, so it's coming around for 2017 again to get the legislator to put it up there and to pass it. And it kind of says something about the powers that be, Mattiello and Paeva Weed, or I probably murdered her last name too, not putting this line item veto through. Almost looks like they advocate for getting things under the radar that the governor can't just remove out. And so do we want our leaders at the State House wanting to sneak things through that we don't know about? Because that's what it looks like by it not being advocated for, by it not being put out there that, oh, I can get this through, nobody's going to realize it, and Is that really what we want of our representation? And what's going on up there? I mean, look at this budget of, we have no money, we have nothing in 2016, we need to do this to, get more money out of you, we need to do this to get more money out of the trucks, and they're destroying our roads, and this is such a good thing, we need to do it, we need to do it! And 2017 comes around, we have all this money, we can give you a 30% reduction in your car tax, and we can pay for 2 years of college for every Rhode Islander that has lived here for 3 years, every high school graduate that has lived in Rhode Island for 3 years. Notice those exact words, every high school graduate that has lived here for 3 years. That, by those words, doesn't mean a U.S. citizen that is a documented citizen. It means that it could be somebody here that is maybe their family's here on a visa and they're here legally on a temporary time frame, or they have not vetted through the processes of being here by being documented and properly through our systems, and therefore if they're not properly through our systems, that means they're not paying into our systems because they don't have a social security number either, and therefore they're going to benefit by getting things that we get but that we pay for. So I personally think that we should be open to all cultures, all different ways of life, and learning the diversity of the world is a great thing. However, it's just not okay for any of us to be paying and getting wrung out to dry by the state of Rhode Island while we are also supporting those that choose not to go through the process properly. Now, mind you, we do descend from lots of people that did not go through the process properly, and they came here illegally, and they took this land, and I completely sympathize with that whole mindset also. Trust me. I get it, and I see it. So these are just some food for thought. And now we're out of time with Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio. This has been another episode, and we greatly enjoy you listening to our show. Find us on Facebook and on Twitter at Colors of RI, and thanks for listening.